Hello, everybody. We're just a few minutes away, getting started here. Todd Leary is here, and we've gotten set up after a tenuous game at best for Indiana tonight in Florida Gulf Coast. Grab my notes that I made at the game. So what is the name of it? How's everybody doing? So when you first tune into this on the if you're not watching it live, skip ahead a minute or so.
That's why I replaced that other menu that had said
so and we're here about now. Hello, the truth. The truth is on already, man. Well, you can't do anything without the truth, can you? The truth is at it. I hope I still got glasses. I won't be able to see a thing. It's hell getting old. What do you got right there?
Glasses. But mine's the opposite. I can't see. I can't see the TV, but I can read all
that. Hello, Josh. How are you, brother? Yeah, W's a W. Todd will say that.
That's a good win. That's a good. That game is exactly what we needed. That game's perfect.
That's why they play those. That's right. Exactly why they play those.
We don't start out in the Big Ten.
I don't think there's any reason to wait. Those that join later can just start from the beginning. How's everybody doing? What's up, Tony? How are you? Appreciate you. Bob down in Georgetown. Recognize you from being on Indiana Sports Beat every day. Jim Coyle, of course, with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. And you know the man right here, the Todd father, Todd Leary, former Indiana basketball player from 1989 to 94.
Yeah. Yep. The numbers don't add up. It's 5 years, not 4. But
well, no, you got the red shirt. They talk about a red shirt now, and I'm like, what's a red shirt?
Yeah, exactly.
As a matter of fact,
it was my COVID year. I was
ahead
Woodson
of my time. Just talked about that the other day with Ja'Kai Newton.
Yeah,
because of that injury. And I'm like, wow. I was like, man, red shirt. I haven't heard that for a hot minute.
You don't hear that.
But as people are joining on, we appreciate you. Heath jumping on already. We're just got to wait a few more minutes as you guys are all jumping on. Hey, Raj, brother, how are you doing, sir?
I knew the Mbako questions were going to come right off the bat.
Yeah, and
We'll get into it.
He carries. Everybody wants everything to be perfect from the get-go.
He's 18 years old,
and
first experience in this.
Well, the whole team. There's not going to be perfection right now. I think back to Mike Whitson's team. How many games did they lose?
A lot.
And won a national championship. I think they had 11 total losses. But Brady, how are you, sir? Man, how are you doing, brother? Good to see you on. You need to come up and see us in Bloomington. You're hanging out down there in Bedford. Man, you know what happens.
Come to Hanks. Boy, this place is legit. Legit.
Absolutely.
If you haven't been to Hoosier Hanks, I highly recommend it.
Before we get into it, we'll talk about Benny, the manager's here. Benny, we're going to start doing some specials, some post-game show specials.
Off key. Come on.
Yeah,
I
know. I'm ADHD, man. ADHD. I'm talking about for the show, man, for when the Todd father is here.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing, I guess we'll just go ahead and get into it and let everybody catch up. But the first thing I wrote down was defense, because when the game started, they were playing that good smothering defense, but it did not take long for that to kind of dissipate when Florida Gulf Coast started nailing 3-point shots. And, I mean, they were hitting them like it was raining.
Yeah, made shots will be the first thing that'll make the defense start to look like it has holes in it. I thought the Marion University game was a great game for Indiana because they had good shooters, and good shooting can make any defense look bad. You can have a bad offense that doesn't isn't very efficient, doesn't look all that great. Then if you make a shot, all of a sudden the numbers start to look really good. But Indiana's defense is, I can't believe I'm saying this, but as a person who learned help defense only, Indiana helps too much, and they've got really good one-on-one defenders in Gabe Cupps and Xavier Johnson. Those guys out in front, actually, Trey Galloway did a good job staying in front of his man. And there was just too much help. Like there's a couple situations in particular I remember Malik Renew and CJ Gunn just getting confused on who the shooters were. I mean that team, I'll say they were good shooters. They had three guys that were good shooters. As many threes as they made. Yeah,
and it was a lot.
That's looking at it. Okay, but you want to know something that's crazy? When I looked this up, only three guys made threes for them. Now they made a bunch of them.
It seemed like everybody and their grandmother was hitting them.
Two of them made 5, and another one made 3. So there's 13 threes between 3 guys.
Wow.
So that's a little bit alarming in that Indiana could have focused a little bit more on those 3 guys, and those will be the thing. That's what these games are for. I know you said it when you came in. I know that's what a lot of people are going to talk about in this game is, Indiana barely won against a Florida Gulf Coast team. It's a good shooting Florida Gulf Coast team. It's very early in the season. It's nothing to be – the fact that they got down by 6 and then dug their heels in and got a timeout and really came out of that timeout with a lot of energy. I started writing things down in order of positives. So, I think as Indiana fans, we all will sit back and say the best positive that came out of today was Khalil Ware. That guy, when he was on the floor, I felt super comfortable. When he was not on the floor, I did not feel comfortable at all. And I didn't think it was going to be that way.
I wrote something.
He dominated the boards with a double-double today. He had 12 boards, only shot the ball 5 times.
Funny you say that. The first thing I wrote down early in the game, Khalil Ware is a presence in the post.
So here's what's interesting to say. He's a different kind of rim protector. I understand Trace Jackson Davis was
sneaky.
Great at blocking shots. This guy is 11 feet tall with long arms. People you could tell after he blocked the first 2 shots, you could definitely tell when they penetrated into the lane, they were avoiding going up and shooting. They were trying to kick it out to open threes. That's a rim protector. He had the lane covered to where Indiana really didn't have to deal with that a whole lot. They made a couple shots over him. Guys are good. Guys are talented. They're going to make some shots over him. That's fine. He stayed out of foul trouble. He was definitely a presence and a rim protector. He got every tough rebound, it seemed like. But Malik only had 1 rebound, and I think a lot of that's because Ware had 12. And I thought his presence was the thing that I was surprised, probably shouldn't be the word, but most excited about what he can bring. I wasn't sure he would have that impact on the game that he had. And so that was super exciting for me. Second thing was how comfortable and how great Malik Renew looked. He looked –
especially around the basket. He's got some feet, man. He's got what I call an inside-out game.
I'm gonna get some flack for making this statement right here, but I'll tell you this: I would prefer. I think he's better throwing the ball into him in the post and getting a basket than Trace was, and that's saying a lot because Trace was explosive and quick and fast and used his speed. Malik uses his footwork, as you mentioned. He doesn't get out of control. He's savvy. When he doesn't get it, he kicks it back out, but he's got good fakes. He finished how many times tonight with his right hand? And we know he's dominant left-handed. Up and under the rim several times tonight. He's not going to go over the top of you. But, man, I thought Malik looked incredibly comfortable. Now, the knock on Malik, and I think the coaching staff will definitely address this, was he picked up 2 terrible fouls that he just can't get. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. I wasn't comfortable when he wasn't on the floor either. And so that's a nitpick thing on him or whatever, but it's incredibly excited about how comfortable I thought he looked in the post. Indiana was good at feeding him in the post.
And in the second half, he was really good. That's when he got 11 points. He was 4 of 6, 3 of 4 at the free throw line. So he did most of his damage in the second half, which that has been Khalil Ware's time up until now. But to see him come on like that and maintain his composure, because that's part of what this team needs, composure with the new guys. They looked like they were, I don't want to say jacked up because this was not the first game, but seemed like they were going maybe about 10 miles an hour too fast in the beginning. You know better than I do.
Well, no, you're exactly right. And you look at it, the two guys that I made notes on that I never thought got comfortable in the game was CJ Gunn and Mbako. Mbako will be, just mark it down, will be a major factor on this team. They will have to have him on the floor. I thought, but I said this also coming into the season. It's going to be very difficult to take Gabe Cupps off the court.
Hey.
and it's I know people say like he's a backup for Xavier.
Someone has already said how long before he breaks into the starting lineup, which I don't think that's going to happen.
It probably won't happen.
But you don't need it to happen. Hell, if you've got a guy like that coming in, that's basically like having two starters.
And the best part is it's not like he has to come in and relieve Xavier. I think all people who have played before, especially guards, will tell you it is so much easier to play when you've got two guys that can handle the ball, 2 point guard mentality people. And that's what college basketball is nowadays. It's gotten to the point where, heck, look at Michigan State, even though they got beat last night. They've got 3 point guards on the floor half the time. So it's the way of college basketball. And I think it's going to be a situation where they're going to look for minutes. But back to why I started talking about that in the first place is Mbako is a guy. He had a very limited line tonight. He was 2 for 6 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3. He only played 19 minutes and he had 4 points. He just never was involved in the game. He made his first shot, which was a nice 2-point shot that he made. They started the second half out, made a good shot in the second half. He just never got comfortable.
Is that just confidence? He didn't get those shots to go down, and man, the game was moving really fast, and Florida Gulf Coast was hitting. Is just a lack of confidence on his part, maybe?
Yeah, and it is, and it's a lack of an identity on the team, and that's what you have to be impressed with Gabe Cupps about, is he was able to come in as a true freshman, and he looked comfortable as could be. He ran the offense. He was the 2 guard with Xavier in there. It worked out exactly. I'll say it worked out exactly like I thought it was going to work out, in that he's going to be difficult to take off the floor. And I think Mike Woodson felt that, and you could tell by the end of the game. How many minutes did he end up playing? Gabe Cupps played 19 minutes, and
half the game.
That's not coming in until probably the 12-minute mark of the first half. So he skipped 8 minutes there to start the game, and that's before Coach Woodson even knew what kind of impact he would have. We've made it. How many minutes we into this? How deep into this we've made it already? 13 minutes, and not talked about Trey Galloway yet. Who's the leading scorer?
And I'm just staring at that
because I'm like, going,
has he ever been the leading scorer in a game for Indiana in his career?
I'll tell you, I watched every second of that game, and I would not have told you he was the leading scorer.
Never ever would have thought that.
It was quiet. It was efficient. 9 shots, 16 points on 9 shots.
7 of 9. He hit 7 of 9.
Yeah, that's an efficient line. The guys who scored, Indiana didn't shoot that well. They shot 49% from the field, so that's good. Only 32% from 3, so that's the negative. But 49% is something you're going to live with most of the time. The starters all shot the ball pretty well, except for Mbako. The guys who came in off the bench, Gabe Cupps is the only guy that scored coming in off the bench. That's alarming-ish for game 1. Not really alarming, but it's not something you want to see. I think a lot of Indiana fans want to see CJ Gunn get comfortable, get hot. I think, even though I think we all look at him as a shooter and a scorer, I think he's going to have to figure out other ways to contribute in order to have the ability to stay on the floor if you're not making shots. And he's taking bad shots. He's forcing shots. You can tell when he comes in, he feels like he's got to be, the microwave coming off the bench, and he's forcing things up. The shots that what did he shoot in the game? He was 0 for 2. Both shots were bad shots. And I think the coaches would agree with that. But he's just got to get comfortable. Like he can have a major impact for this team positively. And
talking about Khalil Ware, 13 points, 8 of those come from the free throw line.
Yeah.
So
he's going to get a lot of free. He needs to shoot 75% from the free throw line because he's going to shoot a lot of them. He's an offensive rebounding machine. I thought last year Trace was a really good offensive rebounder. There's no doubt Trace Jackson-Davis is more athletic than Khalil Ware, but there's something about having a 7'6" wingspan and just being that long. And he just,
it's called an NBA contract. It's what it's called.
It's going to, and he might average, like this may be his most points of the season. He might average 8 points a game, and he's still going to get drafted in the first round next year. And that's his body build, and the NBA knows they can. He's already got a good jumper, makes his first 3 of the game. He can already extend the floor. I mean, he's going to go.
What did Mackenzie Mbako need to learn from tonight's game?
That's a good question. To get involved in other ways other than making shots, and that's just so hypocritical for me to say because I never thought this way as a player. But I mean, he needs to get involved defensively, which will help him get involved offensively. We've run down a list of positives and negatives about individual guys, but as an entire team, I think the biggest issue Indiana had in tonight's game was every basket was earned. They didn't get any. They got a couple easy baskets later in the game, which is when they started playing well and got on their run. But in the first half, I don't think there was one easy basket in the first half. Like they worked for everything,
and the shots weren't falling.
But it's because everything was in the half court offense. I mean, they were running it. They were slow paced, walking it down the floor, setting up the offense, setting up those sets, which they're always going to do. But you got to push the ball up and down the court. Indiana got into the bonus with 14 minutes to go in the first half. They could have shot 100 free throws in that first half if they just started running it down the floor as fast as possible. That's almost when I want Xavier to look at that and see that we're in the bonus and then kind of go out of control a little bit. Like everybody talks about that's his negative is when he's out of control. But if he can get himself to the free throw line, 15 times a game off of just sprinting it down the floor, they can't stay in front of him. Nobody can stay in front of him.
People are going to look at this score and they're going to oh, man. But
struggle to score.
Guess what? Kansas has lost. Purdue has lost. Whether it was an exhibition or not, I don't care. People have lost. That's what happens early on, man. It's going to happen.
Well, what's interesting is no one freaks out. No one that's not a Michigan State fan freaks out when Michigan State loses this time of year because they always
every year
this time of
year. Michigan State's a March team.
Yeah. I mean, everybody just chalks it up to he'll get a hold of it and all that. This Indiana team, when they fell behind 48-42, I literally thought to myself, this is going to say a lot about this team. Not in whether they make the Final Four or anything like that, in how they're going to develop in the preseason, in the pre-conference season. And the fact that they were able to take a 48-42 deficit and turn that around after a timeout to a 52-48 lead, get 10 quick points right off the bat, off of pressure, off of easy baskets, pushing it down the floor, getting to the free throw line, made a shot or two. That to me, I mean, I said it out loud. This is going to say a lot about this team. And it did. Like I was pleased with how they responded to that 6-point hole.
What was amazing to me is Indiana goes 7 minutes without a field goal. Then they finish the half with another 4-minute stretch of not having a field
we don't
goal.
Want to start keeping those stats again.
And I just happened to see it. I was like, I'm like,
it drove us
nuts.
Lord,
11 minutes without a field goal in the first half.
I mean, Indiana would have 3 or 4 5-minute droughts of not scoring baskets, and that's just that's what happens when you put up 69 points. I mean, this is a team that should be averaging, mid 70s. I don't think Coach Woodson will agree with that, but heck, if they just make their free throws, I mean, heck, they missed 11 free throws, shot 63% from the free throw line.
The first half was what killed them. They came out, I think they were 5 of 5 in the second half. I don't know what they finished in the half, but the first half they were terrible.
Yeah,
without question.
And it was there was a bunch of guys in a row that missed them, and that adds up. And those points, I mean, I think Indiana led by 2 at halftime, but that easily could have been a 5 or 6, 7-point lead at halftime if you just make your free throws, not do anything different.
19 of 30, man. Gee whiz. You can't – and when you're building, they've been getting to the line in every game, and that's going to happen. So you have to take advantage of that. Something else that stood out to me about Trey Galloway is he took a 3-point shot early on, hit it. He took another one that he missed it, but I'm like going, nobody should give a crap. I said he would not have taken either of those shots last year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think he understands his roles a little bit different this year. One of the interesting things about this team is last year we knew they were going to be a slow-paced team because Indiana wanted Trace to touch the ball every single time down the court. And that's what I think is kind of, I won't say more fun because obviously we'd love to have Trace, but that's what makes this team more interesting to watch in the early season is it can be anyone. I'm telling you, it will not surprise me in the slightest if Mbako is our leading scorer in the next game. And he was a non-factor in this game. And, Renew will be our leading scorer a bunch. Xavier will be our leading scorer a bunch.
I was going to say, I think that you can look down that starting lineup, and now with Trey Galloway already having accomplished it, he can pull a Costanza and say, I'm out. He's done it already, so you can get everybody to do it, and that's what they have not had for a while. They had, like, when you played, it was like that. There was great players, but there was nights that it could be Pat Graham, it could be Greg Graham, it could be Todd Leary.
Saying the names nowadays, if you say, well, it could have been Damon Bailey, or it could have been Eric Anderson, it could have been Calvert, it could have been Brian Evans. I mean, it could have been Alan Henderson. Think of all those names of guys that were on those teams. Of course, any of those guys could be the leading scorer, and that's going to be the same way with this. Malik, Khalil Ware, Mbako, Xavier, they're going to all, as long as the shots are distributed amongst them, I don't want to say evenly, but fairly evenly, they're going to be a different leading scorer all the time.
They only had 9 fast break points, but they also had 13 points off of turnovers.
I would have told you more like 4 fast break points. It sure didn't seem like very many.
Yeah, that's why that number's not as high as definitely
for this team. That number needs to be closer to 20. Like they need to be pushing the ball. Look, this is me and you sitting at Hanks saying that. Coach Woodson might be saying the opposite. I mean, he might be in the locker room saying, we're going too fast the way it is. I don't think so, but I sure didn't think it was very easy for Indiana to score baskets in that first half. Actually, the first 30 minutes of the game. They just looked methodical. They didn't look like they were comfortable running the offense. They did okay, but it kind of did the same thing. They could have thrown the ball into Malik after 2 passes. Instead, they threw it into him after 7 passes. And I just think they need to work on getting some easier baskets earlier in the game.
Yeah, you mentioned CJ. Not a good night for him. A -11 on the plus-minus scale when he was in.
Who was it?
CJ.
Yeah.
Gone. But again, it seems like he's still just learning a little bit. He's grown.
He's
but
not comfortable yet.
Yeah.
You can tell. Like his shot selection is the difficult part. Like that's when a guy is
forcing things.
Yeah, I mean that's when he's not really comfortable. That's one of the things I can say about Mbako that I actually thought he seemed pretty comfortable. He didn't force anything. He took shots that he should normally take. He missed he's the Ted Kitchell of this team. His corner 3-pointer. That's his favorite shot. That's the shot he's the best at. He got one tonight. They reversed it perfectly. He just missed it. But that's the shot we're going to see him knock down a ton this year.
And he only took 6 shots, so he wasn't feeling
didn't force
comfortable,
it,
so he
yeah.
didn't force. He's like, hey, it's not
he
working.
wasn't on the floor much in the second half. Indiana got comfortable, and back. I'll pat myself again on the back and say, I think Coach Woodson felt I can't take Gabe Cupps off the floor, and that's the substitution that took Mbako out of the game. There'll be games when that's not the case. There'll be games when Xavier's in foul trouble. We know that. I thought the referees let him play pretty physically tonight. That's always to Xavier's benefit. That's to his benefit, because if he gets that early foul, it just seems to kind of derail his connectivity to the game.
And there's going to be nights, especially when you get into Big Ten play, where the big boy gets in trouble, whether it's Xavier or Malik Renew, or even Kellel Ware. Those guys have to be able to be on the floor, and being able to stay out of foul trouble is something they have to learn early on.
And we're not even talking about Peyton Sparks right now, which, we haven't seen him in the last 2 games, but I'm telling you, he's a guy that is going to be a major contributor. He's very similar to Malik Renew. Like their games are extremely similar. And I don't think one is any more adept at scoring inside than the other. I think Peyton Sparks is a guy that's going to get a lot of baskets in the lane for Indiana, and I'm excited for him to get to play. But again, we're going to get to the point where the minute's going to come from, like who's going to come out.
Caleb Banks only 2 minutes a night. A little surprising with how he played in the last game. He came out with that ferocious energy that he plays with. He plays like his hair's on fire. He wasn't out there very much tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's difficult for a guy like Caleb Banks, and I'll say until he can be a threat to knock down jump shots,
he was 2 of 4 behind the arc last game.
College basketball, that's a position that's difficult to play if you can't knock shots down.
Is he this year's damn it, I've already forgotten his name. He's at Maryland now.
Oh yeah, Geronimo.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got great energy. He's just tough as can be. I mean, he's got to figure out a way to consistently knock down shots.
I want to check in on the Andy Moore Honda hotline to everybody. Thanks again for tuning in here. We're coming to you live from Hoosier Hanks East, located on South College Mall Road. It is delicious. Appreciate you guys. Welcome back.
Pepperoni rolls, I suggest it.
Let's see. There's Brady Rhoda. Hey, brother. Cheers to you as well, Brady. Trying to look for a first
Brady
question.
Related to Pete Rhoda?
Is he from around here?
Pete Rhoda was our SID back a million years ago.
I'm going to guess no. That's right, John. The Todd father is back. Great to be back, guys. Looking for a question. There you go.
This season. I mean, how do you define a killer instinct? I mean, I think defensively they're pretty darn aggressive. I think that.
Are they able to sustain that though? That's the question.
Well, I think with the guys you're talking about, like Caleb Banks, being able to bring guys like him and Walker in off the bench, that's what they're going to have to bring to the floor. I was impressed with Walker tonight. I thought he looked comfortable. He fit right in to everything.
He's experienced, man. He's like, all right, I'm just trying to find my niche, my role here, because he knows he's a role player. He's not here to start. He's not here to take anybody's position, and he's willing to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a guy that I think there's nights we're going to say, how is he not playing more? And that's a positive. That's not a knock on coaches. This team has got a lot of guys that, I saw a quote from Coach Painter about their team, and if you watched them play last night, how good they looked. And he said, look, there's only so many minutes to go around. I've got a bunch of really good players that are not going to play very many minutes. And that's just because we're talented. It's the way it is. And Indiana is got some of the same issues. I mean, they've got some guys that are very talented players that are going to have trouble finding the floor. And it's just the way it is. That's why it's so important. So here's the tough part. I mean, I played this role. I lived this life. So you say to CJ Gunn, you got to prove something when you come in there. Like we got to have a reason to keep you on the floor.
And then that forces you into forcing things.
Force a couple of shots and they don't go in. And then all of a sudden, you're right back out and you don't get that opportunity to come back in. And I lived that life for 5 years. It is what it is. And sometimes you gotta, it's the luck of the draw. You got to make sure those shots are good shots that you take because they got to go in.
Yep.
And it is very, I always said this, it's very seldom I ever came out of the game if I was 2 for 2 or 3 for 3.
Yeah.
If I was
funny how it works that way.
2 for 2 or I stayed in the game.
Quick hook, baby.
0 for 2 or even 1 for 2.
The quick hook.
You may not have an opportunity to get back on the court. And it's the reality of the basketball. And if you're not the superstar, it's the reality of what role you've got to play on a team. And until CJ Gunn, I keep using him as my example because I relate the most to him. He's a guy that's got to make shots when he comes
Went to the same high school.
We did. Yeah, we did. That's not just what we shared. I mean, our roles at Indiana are – he'd probably punch me in the face for saying that. He's so much more athletic than I am. But, I mean, the coming in and the roles that we would – as role players. And he can be a lot more than a role player. I mean, look how athletic he is. Look how long he is. Like,
that's
I think he's grown 3 inches.
To have length like that on a guard.
Yeah,
how important is that?
And he's big and physical and athletic, and he can do a lot of things. But at the end of the day, Mbako's kind of going to be the same thing. If Mbako starts the game out over 3, it's going to be a lot easier for Coach Woodson to go ahead and insert Gabe Cupps into that lineup and get him in there faster.
I'm going to take. I'm sorry.
No, you're great.
Going to take some of your questions here in a second. Before we do, don't forget we're coming to you from Hoosier Hanks East, located at 1285 South College Mall Road here in Bloomington. You can stop by and join us anytime for the postgame show, which should be going on virtually every time. But you'll know if it's not. We'll let you know. Plenty of room to sit here.
Awesome
we got some
setup.
people here. It's a great place to
Best
be.
customer service in Bloomington.
How about these photos? Have you seen
It's
perused
legit.
these?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
These Hank photos.
That's pretty awesome.
My favorite one is the Muhammad Ali one where he's got
that's
him knocked
behind
out.
you over there,
But it's to have to sit here and smell that food without being able to eat it. That's not much fun.
I ate before you got here.
I figured. Josh says, did we see early season crunch time lineup tonight with Gallo, Cupps, Ware, and Renew? Well, you're leaving one out right there, and that's Mackenzie Mbako. I'm certain.
Well, I mean, I think that's what he's saying is this the lineup when it gets to the time when the game's on the line? Is that the lineup we're going to see?
You better hope
and
not.
Cupps instead of Mbako.
Oh,
I mean, I think it's going to be game to game, quite honestly. If Mbako had started that game out 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 from the field, he for sure would have played more minutes. Although he made his first shot in the first half, made his first shot in the second half. He just never – there's always going to be substitution. And if the guy that comes in that's substituted, which Gabe Cupps came in and played very well, I think Coach felt more comfortable with the lineup when Gabe Cupps was on the floor. I know I did.
it's hard not to.
It really is. That's why I said in the summertime I watched them play 2 pickup games, and I said it's going to be extremely difficult to keep Gabe Cupps off the floor, even with Xavier. And that's why don't freak out for me saying this, but that's why when we miss out on some 5-star point guards around the country that are coming in next year, I mean, don't freak out about it. We've got one that's here for 4 years. So yes, we're going to need to add more to it. I'm a guy that wants 2 guards on the floor at all times, but we got a guy everybody's comfortable with.
Braylon's got a hell of a view, and I'm not talking about the one of us looking at us. He's coming. He's checking us out from Mineral Springs, Colorado, with the mountains in the background. So sorry to ruin that view for you right now, but we appreciate you. Jamie says, saw some good things to take away and things to work on. Take the W and get better. That's probably nothing better said than that right there from a coaching standpoint.
That is what a November 7th game is all about. And hey, people want Indiana to have a strong schedule. I thought this was a good team. This is a great team to have come in here and play. I wish Isaiah Thompson had been able to play. Would have been fun to have him back here. I know his family pretty well. His dad.
Oh, yeah, the kid from Zions.
Yeah, played at Purdue.
That had to be just a tough miss for him.
They said he had an upper body injury and I think he was their leading scorer returning from last year. So, I mean, yeah, I wish he could have played. But that's a good team. That's a good team, well coached. They got a Big Ten level coach there, so
everybody's loving Gabe Cupps, man. He is,
Indiana
and there's going to be a
fans-
reason for him to love him.
Indiana fans,
They've been waiting
over
for a
history,
kid like this.
have always loved a kid who dove on the floor and
Jim Rat.
Yeah, and is this guy the epitome of it? I mean, if they made a remake of Hoosiers, I think this dude would be he's even got the shot that looks like Jimmy Chitwood. But just who's not going to root for that guy? Like he's just fun. He's fun to watch play. He plays hard. He is a pest on defense. Other teams are going to totally dislike him, which is great.
What did the bench score end up being? I think they scored like 7 or 9.
Indiana's?
Yeah,
Indiana had 7. Gabe had 5, and Walker had 2, both from the free throw line. So
Ed
one
pointing
basket.
out the 3-guard lineup with Ware and Renew. That was effective.
Yeah, and that's but would you still call it a 3-guard lineup if that's Mbako? I mean, I would. Mbako,
He's a hybrid.
Mbako,
He's a
Galloway,
hybrid.
yeah. I mean, he's a 2-3. So I mean, that's a 3-guard lineup. I mean, he can handle the ball. Look, I think we go back to the very first guy I talked about, and I think the highlight of tonight coming out of this is Khalil Ware. I shouldn't say my expectations were not that high of what we would get from him. 12 rebounds is, I think, the best stat he had for the night. And then Malik Renew looked like he should be the superstar go-to guy. He looks like the alpha dog. And we all know Xavier's the alpha. You can't have enough alphas in a game like this.
And I know he was not playing against someone like Zach Edey, who is a mountain, but Khalil Ware, what impressed me is he wasn't getting shoved around, and I'm like, I was kind of wondering, is he going to be able to take it physically? And again, not that he was playing a 7'2", 209,000-pound Mount Edey, but he's in there grabbing.
He's going to be fine. We're not, and nor should anyone base his defensive ability off of being able to push around Zach Edey. No one should, because no one can. He's a monster.
Yes,
and
he's not.
And I mean
he's
that
not
positively in the best way possible. But I mean, you just have a team defense. A guy like that, you're not going to beat him one-on-one in that. So, but I thought in this scenario tonight, he used his strength, which was his length tonight. He didn't force things. He didn't get a bunch of over the back fouls and a bunch of silly things.
He plays smart for a big guy. That's hard.
He timed his blocks when the ball was out of guys' hands. He wasn't trying to jam it down their throat.
I swear, like I said earlier, he's sneaky. I think he baits, especially if the shooter has another defender. He's back there he's like a catfish back there, just boom, and he tries to.
You think about it though. I mean, he's so long. He has the ability to wait on the ball to get in the air because it's not like he's jumping. Trace was an unbelievable athlete, one of the best athletes Indiana's ever had, but he still was 6'8", 6'9", whatever. There's a big difference between 7 foot. And when your wingspan is that long, to start out that much higher than Trace already is, it's a big difference. It's a different kind of big guy.
And when you have someone that is that much of not just a shot blocker, you don't have to block it. Alters. He is altering people's shots.
He protected the rim tonight, and I don't mean that on the shots that he blocked. He protected the rim because he blocked a few shots, and then if you go back and watch the film, that team was driving in there, and they were looking on where to kick it out. They didn't shoot very many shots. I think they made 3 shots over the top of it. We'll take that number all day long. If those 3 shots beats us, then we're in trouble. But he protected the rim, and he did it early. He got shots out of there, and then they didn't want to come in there anymore. And that's more than you can ask for.
You talked earlier about the defense and over helping. What about switching? Are they switching too much?
No, there's no such thing as that. They were switching great because everyone could pretty much guard everyone. The problem seemed to be what I saw was if a guy or a pass was made or a guy was driving, if the first guy helped, the second guy didn't rotate. And that's where you can call it overhelp or under rotation. I call it under rotation.
Yeah.
But there was also a couple times when Indiana, okay, like I went back and said it. It didn't take very long. I didn't know anyone on this basketball team that we played against tonight. Isaiah Thompson didn't play. I didn't know any of those other guys. But it didn't take me very long to figure out which three guys were the main shooters. So you can't leave those guys. And they had game film knowing this ahead of time. Like one of those guys transferred from Penn State that came with Coach Chambers. So I mean,
who has had a little bit of success against that.
These are not random guys that all of a sudden made shots they don't normally make. Only 3 guys made their 13 threes. So those are the guys you can't help off of. And that's the recognition that you have to be able to see.
Well, who does that fall onto?
Well, so here's the difference. When we talk about slowing the game down, I think you've heard me say it before, and you've heard people talk about Mbako will get better once the game starts to slow down for him. That's not just offensively. It's defensively and being able to see plays ahead of time. See, like if the ball's stuck on one side of the floor and I've got a guy that's a shooter all the way on this side of the floor, I recognize that. I see all that ahead of time. But if I've got a guy over here that hasn't made a shot in a month, I don't worry about him anymore. But you've got to have the time and the brain power to be able to recognize that this is either a shooter or not a shooter.
You know what I was thinking about before next time? We're going to get you some erasable markers.
Yeah.
And
I can draw
on this black.
You don't want to race me back to the board like Shaq and Kenny the Jet?
No.
Nobody wants to see the two of us go running towards any board.
My racing days
right.
are
I would love
over. And all we have to do is turn around because behind these beautiful photo, I'll put this back up, is the black. So we can do that.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be great because that way it gives you an opportunity for you to see exactly what he is talking about. And before I go to the next question, don't forget we're coming to you from Hoosier Hanks East here on 1285 South College Mall Road in Bloomington. Hasn't been open that long, but it's in the former Avers Public House. But, man.
Right in front of Kroger.
Food is
oh, my gosh.
Incredible. Good. Tony asked, we already talked about that. The switching too much.
Yeah, there's no such thing as switching too much.
I can't see that well. Yep, everybody loving Gabe Cups tonight, and with good reason. But I'm still Trey Galloway again, man, leading scorer tonight, very quietly, as you said. Most of his shots came. There was a couple float. Hell, I don't even know. He hit a 3. He had some floaters. I don't know where his shots came from. He made some runners in the
lane. He did get one of the fast break baskets. I mean, he took what came to him. I think he was the definition of let the game come to him. I still
he looks so comfortable.
I
still
should don't consider him, and maybe I'm wrong, and I hope he proves me wrong. But I don't consider him. I don't think he looks for his shot. And so there are certain guys that are shooters. They're scorers. Like they look for their shot. I don't consider Trey that. I think he's much more going to let it come to him than try to force up some shots. He would never have taken the 2 shots that Gunn took.
Yeah.
that CJ Gunn took.
Well, even the ones he did take, I was like, ooh, I wouldn't expect a Trey to take that one. But
yeah.
he did put that one up.
In past years, he would have passed up for sure the first 3-pointer that he took tonight. So yeah, no, he's matured, and I think the coaches have obviously talked to him and got him to understand that's a role. There's going to be games he needs to score 16. There's going to be games he needs to score 6. It's whatever comes. I don't think anyone on the coaching staff is going to worry about Trey forcing things.
Brad asks, what about free throws? Why does Indiana always struggle at the line? Well, they have in recent years, and that's mind-boggling to me for 1,000 reasons, because I'm like, damn it, I could shoot free throws. And I know that there's different situations, but over the course, it's like guys have got to be 70% free throws. CJ Gunn, I hate to use him as an example, but the other night, I think he was 2 of 5 at the line. Guys can't
Xavier
be
missed
that
his
way.
first 2 free throws tonight. Like, you can't have your point guard. I heard Robbie Hummel last night on the Purdue game talking about what a luxury it is to have Edie, your big guy that's going to shoot so many free throws, be a 75% free throw shooter. And that's a fact. It's also true about your point guard, the guy who the ball is going to be in his hands at the end of a game. And it was kind of interesting tonight. I was surprised. I think we'll see this change or be more evenly distributed later in the season. But at the end of the game, I mean, I think if they shot 1,000 free throws, I think it's pretty obvious Gabe Cupps would be the best free throw shooter on the team. And at the end of the game, Xavier had the ball instead of Gabe Cupps. A little surprising to me. Xavier made both his free throws. It was fine. It wasn't a big deal. But that's something under Coach Knight that never would have happened. The best free throw shooter would have had the ball in his hands without any question.
Gabe Cupps seems relaxed already.
Yeah.
As a freshman, you don't usually get that.
Nope.
And he's already showing that, which is going to bode very well for Indiana. It's going to bode very well for his minutes because he's going to get a crap ton of them as this season continues to progress. I shouldn't say that I'm surprised by that because we've heard coming in, everybody's going to love him. Everybody's going to love him, man. Well, we're seeing why. He's just one of those, like you said, those Indiana kind of guys, even though he's from Ohio.
Yeah, it's an extension up there just outside of Fort Wayne where he's from. But, I mean, he's been around basketball his whole life. I mean, his dad, a coach. It's so obvious. I mean, this guy's been playing since he could walk. And, this is a guy who, hey, I had been playing since I could walk also, but I wasn't as comfortable as he is as a freshman. He's matured beyond his years. And, they've played so many games now. He's played so many AAU games. His team, I think, won or at least played in the state championship in his last couple of seasons. So he's played in big-time games. It's not surprising to me that he is comfortable. I love that he feels that comfortable out there and is – I saw it in the summertime. In the summertime, he didn't look out of place. The game's not too big for him or too fast for him. He's not too small. He's not quick enough. He's a true point guard. That's why, yes, I wanted Boogie Flan just like everybody else did or whatever. But it's not, it's not a recruiting failure that you don't get him. You've got Gabe Cupps for 4 years. You need to bring another one in with him. We have a great situation this year in having Xavier and Gabe together. It's going to make Gabe better having Xavier here. If Gabe, I said this last year about Purdue. I keep bringing up Purdue, but Braden Smith last year had a phenomenal freshman year. I think he would have had an even better year had he had a veteran point guard already there that he could share the responsibility.
Instead of being two freshmen back there,
it was. Hey, here's the ball. You're the point guard. Run the team. And, Gabe has the luxury in this scenario of having an alpha male dominant, as alpha as you can get, Xavier Johnson, to run everything. And I think it's going to work out well for both of them. I think they're both going to love being on the floor, having the other guy there.
McKenzie's problems, we talked about that a little bit.
He's going to be fine.
Oh, absolutely. What I was going to ask is the defense also, man, not only was his shot not falling, but there was other shots falling. One of the guys he was guarding hit a shot kind of on his face. That kind of snowballs on you.
Well, and that's what I'm talking about, the game slowing down for you. It will slow down for him. Look, he is he's probably the most talented player on the team. He's offensively the most talented player on the team. I should definitely say that. Maybe I'm saying too much to say he's the overall most talented. He's the most talented offensive player on this team. And there's going to be a lot of games he's going to show it. There's going to be some games like tonight that it just looks like it's going a little bit too fast for him. And, you're going to say Florida Gulf Coast, if that one's too fast for him, then Big Ten's going to run all over him. That's not the case. What you said, it snowballed. That's exactly right. It did. And I think it snowballed on the coaches in a positive way in that Gabe Cupps was in the lineup. They were super comfortable with that team that was out there, and they weren't changing it.
They did not expect to have a three-guard type lineup.
They didn't. I can assure you they didn't go into this game thinking when we're down by 6 with 12 minutes to go in this game, this is the lineup we're going to be the most comfortable with that's on the floor right here, and it's going to include Gabe Cupps and Xavier and Trey Galloway without Mbako on the court, I don't think they would have thought that was going to be the case. But it snowballed, just like you said, and they had to leave that line. It was what's comfortable.
Derek said what he said on the post game, that CJ, Caleb, and Walker have to figure out the defense and fast. Well, yeah, especially two of those guys have been here. This is their second year. Walker's a fifth-year guy, but this is a different system. He probably didn't have to. I don't know if they had to play this much defense when he was at Miami, because they were so damn athletic and they were just crushing people. Plus, they had that I can't remember that guy's name that was just killing everybody in the middle. But it's a different. You have to play a high level of defense the whole game.
Yeah, you do. And you've got to, the game is slowed down for the most part for Walker. Like you said, he's played a lot of minutes. He's played a lot of big games. He's played against ACC competition. Like he is seasoned veteran in that regard. And I thought he looked like it out there on the floor. He's not a guy that's going to stand out there and make a bunch of shots for you. And I'm not saying that you have to do that in order to be a contributor, but he's going to have to show some offensive abilities. Same with Caleb Banks. And those don't have to be jump shots. I think I get stuck on guys making shots. It can be rebound baskets. That's what I do think Jordan Geronimo was good at. Like, I thought he scored a lot of baskets that were kind of junk-ish baskets.
Hanging around, getting.
And that's what these guys are going to have to do. And I think Geronimo wanted a bigger role than that. I think he probably made a good decision for himself because if you look at the team that Indiana has right now, I don't think his role would have been a lot more than what it was in the past. And so, I think Caleb Banks and Anthony Walker and probably CJ Gunn and, Peyton Sparks when he's healthy again, I think those guys are going to have to find their little niche in ways that they can come in. I keep giving him too much credit maybe, but that's what Gabe Cupps did tonight. He made it so you couldn't take him off the floor. And that's what those guys have to do.
Hey, that's a coach's dream. When you've got a guy out there that you didn't start, that was not part of the big plan, although he was a part of the plan, but he's changing. He might change the plan.
Sure. Well, and hold on. So let's not just assume because he pasted up 13 points and 12 rebounds tonight that we're going to be able to count on that every night out of Khalil.
He's not going into the starting lineup.
Well, Khalil Ware, if he doesn't have that kind of game tonight, he still is a big factor on the floor. And so it isn't like we're going to need other guys to step up and get some of his 13 points or some of his 12 rebounds. One rebound tonight from Malik Renew. I can assure you Coach Woodson's bringing that up. When they go down the stat sheet, Woodson doesn't very often, or most coaches don't very often, point out the positives. And Malik with one rebound, that's not going to cut it.
You know what? There was somebody who said to me when I pointed out that how smooth Malik Renew looked shooting free throws, you know what their response was? Can't rebound out there on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Todd said that. I was like, and that has not left me. And there you go tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Malik's got to rebound better. This team, I think, Khalil Ware obviously was a big portion of it tonight. I didn't even see how many total rebounds did Indiana have. Indiana had 31 total rebounds, and so 12 of them came from Ware. So more than 30% of our rebounds came from one guy. Like, you've got to have more. Our guards actually were the next leading rebounders. Galloway and Xavier were the next leading rebounders. So that's something that's got – but, hey, I'll go back on it. Mbako had 3 rebounds tonight. There's a bunch of positives. There's obviously some negatives, some things to clean up, some things to get better at. I think the defensive help is a thing that will be talked about immediately at practice. I think shot selection will be something. Hopefully pushing the ball will be another, huge thing that they work on going into the games this weekend.
Well, guys, I cannot thank you enough, Todd Leary especially, and make sure to have the opportunity to come out and join us here at Hoosier Hanks East on 1285 South College Mall Road here in Bloomington. Well, they'll probably be cooking up some specials during the show, man. We'll have all kinds of good things going, but we'll be back here and looking forward to it, as this is just one of many. This is the beginning of what should be a fun year.
Excited to get basketball back. How nice was it to turn the TV on yesterday and see basketball games?
It is awesome.
Not great for me getting up early, staying up watching that Michigan State game. I'm not used to staying up.
That's nothing
late.
compared to watching Pac-12 football, and I've been doing that. On Saturday night.
You're better than me. No chance.
It's killing me. But big thanks to Todd Leary, of course. It wouldn't be Indiana Postgame with Todd Leary if Todd Leary wasn't here. So big thanks. Thanks to everybody here at Hanks, of course. Benny, the manager GM, stop in and see him. Hoosier Hanks East here on South College Mall Road. Make sure you stop by, and we'll be back after the next game. And as far as me, what is today? Today is Wednesday. I'm back
Tuesday.
at it.
Today's Tuesday.
Oh, gee whiz. I gotta know. I'll be back at it tomorrow morning. So tune in to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. For those of you that tuned in late or whatever, you can go back and watch the beginning of this. Just go to YouTube and start it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and all that good stuff that they tell you to do. We appreciate that very much. But thank you guys so much. Without you, there's no reason for us to be here. And for Todd Leary, I'm Jim Coyle. I'll see you on the radio.